magical time of year when the Great Wall of China and my apartment are the only two man-made structures visible from space. I must say, I'm really excited about seeing Frederick this trip. Yeah, what you got?
A long time ago, in a galaxy far, far away.
Feel, don't think.
Fear is my ally.
The Force will be with you.
We are encouraged to love. Be mindful of your thoughts.
I will not betray the Republic.
Hey, your worship, I'm only trying to help.
Scruffy-looking nerf herder.
I'm not afraid.
You must unlearn what you have learned.
So, it's been 10 years since The Force Awakens came out, and we're coming up on the, 8th anniversary of The Last Jedi. I thought doing a remembrance video of the last 12 years, 13 years would be in order. We remember that George decided to sell Lucasfilm, and the reasons are varied. Some people want to blame us fans because we were angry about the prequels, and that was one of the pretexts for, but it's a little more complicated than that because he wanted to expand the studios and his businesses in Marin County, and they wouldn't let him. This is California, and the idea of actually making money is anathema to them, okay? So we get to this part where George is tired. He wants to spend more time with his family, and he's pissed off at the government. And he puts it out there to Bob Iger because Disney had always been pecking at his skirts that he wants to sell Lucasfilm. And that's what happened. And the ramifications of this totally independent film studio becoming part of this gargantuan pile of crap called the Walt Disney Studio System is ridiculous. And George knew what was going to happen. I mean, look at the look on his face. Iger smiling like the Cheshire Cat. George is like, what have I done in Anakin Skywalker speak, right? Really, what had he done? And what you've got in the end is a conglomeration of garbage. And it's not just Iger's fault. It's Iger's fault that he let this woman stay way longer than she should have. Even if The Force Awakens was, quote, a success, quote, she never should have been allowed to run the studio beyond that. Because she can't make a decision. She likes everything and then doesn't like it. She's incompetent, etc. This is probably even a bigger problem than the woke stuff. I mean, when Matt Bellany says she's not woke, it's like, how hard did they have to talk her into it then? Because I don't think they had a hard time talking her into it at all. I mean, the sequel trilogy is absolute garbage, and we all know that. We know very well how bad it is. It's so ridiculously put together. It doesn't make any sense. And what it did to the legacy characters, I think the people who made the movie should be thrown in prison. I really, really do. George said people who destroy cultural works, artworks, etc., are barbarians. And that's exactly what Kennedy allowed to have happen. Right? I mean, and she didn't just stop at Star Wars. She did it with Willow, and she did it with Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. I mean, when Steven Spielberg walks away from something that he was part of for decades, you have to ask yourself why. And Spielberg's reaction at the premiere of Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny in Los Angeles is the perfect bookend of this, right? So we get to The Force Awakens, and we're all hyped up. We were led to believe that we were going to get a reunion of sorts, and the original trilogy people would at least be guiding and part of the movie. They were, but they were curb stomped. Leia, I don't know what the hell that was. Han, drunk deadbeat dad Han Solo? I don't think so. You've got all of this going on, and it's like the only way they can fix it is to either erase the sequel trilogy or retcon it to the point where the story is completely different. I mean, again, Force Awakens. It was a $2.3 billion, I think, flop. Because The Last Jedi came out, and when word got around with what Rian Johnson did to Luke, nobody wanted to see it. It was slated to make $2.5 billion. It made 1.3. That's $1 billion less than what it actually made. Than what it was supposed to make. You've got wooden characters, Rey with no reason. You got Kyle Ren, Darth Emo, a black stormtrooper who could have been cool, but then they turn him into a janitor, and then B reduce his part because Reylo, and they were listening to the internet and not, really doing what the story needed. What they did to Luke Skywalker was bad, and of course, Finn, here in The Last Jedi, getting sexually assaulted by Rose Tico. I mean, you kind of go, what the hell was Rian Johnson doing with this? He was subverting expectations, but I will add, J.J. Abrams and Larry Kasdan did the same thing. They did the exact same thing. Because we didn't get what we wanted in episode 7. And Rian Johnson ran with it. They left the gate wide open for him to just absolutely drive a dump truck of shit through. I mean, he kills off Snoke, and they have no recourse, they think, but to bring back Palpatine as a clone or something. Because the first things that they filmed with Matt Smith as the son of Mortis was so deep in the lore, Iger, Bergman, and Kennedy lost their shit. They didn't understand it. Look, as George has often said, Hollywood executives are stupid. They're unsophisticated. There you go. They weren't aware the son of Mortis was a character that was important. I mean, they had a money-making machine if they had just done what George wanted, and they were too greedy to realize it. And it's too bad that it happened this way. But we have to remember these at least 2 movies that opened up at this time, 10 and 8 years ago, because it's I think a lesson in how Hollywood doesn't foster good writers, how they stomp on creativity, because they think reboots and remakes are what people want, and I don't understand it. They're told constantly, we don't want this, and they still do it, and they're wondering why they're floundering. Well, you bring back Palpatine, that's not pushing the story forward. You reboot it, that's not telling the story, the continuance. A reboot's nothing more than lazy fear factor filmmaking. More in a bit.
Pardon me. I have to go poke out my mind's eye.
In keeping with the trusty adage, starve a cold, disgust a fever.
Dad, when are you going to stop blighting the environment with this atrocity? My God, can't you see that it wants to die? Let it go.
So what we got in the sequel trilogy wasn't moving the story forward. It wasn't telling the continuing story. Even though I'm sure Bob Iger would argue with me on that. Remember, Hollywood studio executives are not sophisticated and they're not intelligent, right? And the sequel trilogy proves it, from Bob Iger and Alan Horn when he was still there, and Alan Bergman. They actually believed the prequels are wrong, so they strong-armed George out of being part of the movies, and opted for a soft reboot, and that's it. This is one of the singular reasons why the sequel trilogy failed. The characters, like I said, nobody cares about Rey. She's unlikable. Nobody cares about Kyle Ron. He is not only unlikable, he's a horrible character. I mean, he's like literally the worst villain ever written. And I'm not saying how bad. It's the terrible writing. And of course, if you're an actor, you're a young actor, you can't tell Larry Kasdan, you can't tell Rian Johnson, you can't tell J.J. Abrams and Chris Terrio, I don't like the way you wrote my character because he doesn't make any sense and people are going to make fun of him or her. And guess what? It's really funny when you see people who like these talking about Jakku being a whole new planet. And it's like, it's Tatooine with a fleet of Star Destroyers wrecked on the ground. It's a desert planet, and there are settlers there and, low to the ground people, but that's not new in Star Wars. The thing that George always did was he always made something new. It's almost like they were making a parody. I mean, that's if you look at it like that, it isn't quite as bad as you might imagine. I mean, it's kind of like, okay, I now I understand. It's like Spaceballs trying to be serious. Then, of course, you get The Last Jedi. Everybody's expectations were usurped. We got Rey Nobody, which is so stupid I can't. We got the evil big villain being murdered by Kyle Ron, and then you leave the next movie without a villain. And it's really interesting to me, with all the things that were wrong with it. Let's see, Vice Admiral Gender Studies, Rose Tico, the subplot to Nowhere on the gambling planet. It's like, you kind of sit there and go, you want to ask Rian Johnson, do you really hate Star Wars that much? I mean, when they're on Crate, one of the rebel troopers goes, oh, something about how it looks like snow, but it's salt or something like that. That is such a middle finger salute to George Lucas and Irv Kirchner, because they're making fun of Hoth, right? That's what that was about. The first movie just screamed soft reboot parody. The second one screamed, fuck off, all of you. You were mean to me once. I wanted to meet you at a, autograph signing thing and you just ignored me. Or I saw you having dinner with your family and I walked up to you and you told me to leave you alone. And that's Rian Johnson to George Lucas. That's what I get. The whole, don't meet your heroes. They're not going to be who you expect them to be or who you want them to be. Yeah, And your point, but I think, honestly, that's where Ryan Johnson's mean-hearted film is resting on. It's literally an attack on George Lucas. It is not good Star Wars. We all know that. Okay, so and I gotta say this: the people who like this stuff on X, like Star Wars, the Holocron, Star Wars Holocron, and Star Wars Daily, whatever, Dan Decentralized, they have no idea what they're talking about. They have no clue about what a good story is. And it's like, you either want to be validated or you have taste for shit, as my dad would say. And you kind of look at these people and go, did the education system fail you that much? That you have to, I think, be taught how to watch movies. I mean, they don't read. They probably can't read, for context anyway. They're not objective about this. Now, granted, you could say that about OG fans and prequel fans. But most of us, since the prequel or the sequels came out, have reevaluated the prequels and realized they had good storytelling. And by the way, you want to know how I know Iger realized they made a mistake? Is Anakin Skywalker showing up in Ahsoka, Obi-Wan Kenobi, everything. So they realized they made a mistake, I think. But the biggest mistake is shit-canning George's script treatments and allowing Kennedy to continue. 2018, she should have just been fired. I don't care. My dog could run the studio. He would do a better job. Right? So this is the last 10 years. You're always going to have the blue pill maniacs screaming how great the sequels were, and they weren't. In the end, the prequels proved you can't just have pretty special effects. You have to have a story. And that's the biggest thing that's lacking in the sequel trilogy. They don't have a story. They're not connected, and they literally pull the rug out of everything that the franchise is supposed to be about. It's not about feminazism or LGBTQ plus bullshit. And we all know that. It's about good versus evil, balance, relationships, and family. And nothing in the sequel trilogy has anything to do with any of it. It's just, here, we'll throw this check mark out there because we have to make sure that those people are represented. Bullshit. That's all I can say. This last, I guess, 13 years has been bullshit since Disney bought Lucasfilm. Absolute bullshit. There has been some good stuff, but at least 4 of the Star Wars movies were garbage. Why? Because they didn't tell stories, they had an agenda, and they were just shit. They were shit. So I wanted to put this out there. I was inspired after watching a few people who like these shitty movies running around screaming like morons because it's been 10 years since The Force Awakens came out and they haven't released it. No, they're not going to because no one's going to see it. No one wants to. But this is the last 10 years of Disney having Star Wars films. They haven't made any money. They've lost money. And it's time for a different direction, and there we go. And if you don't like the direction they're going in, Might I tell you to go find another franchise to go and infest with your leftist parasitical dogma? This is Steph signing out. I'll see you around the galaxy.
That's no moon. It's a space station.
It's too big to be a space station.
I have a very bad feeling about this.